Get up, man.
Dallas 911, this is Carla. Where's your emergency?
The family and the attorneys for Botham Jean had never heard the 911 call made by Amber Guyger until now.
I thought this was my floor.
Obviously, it's a very difficult recording to listen to. This is our very first time hearing this. It'll be very difficult for the family to have to hear this after all this time. Only thing I heard her saying was, I thought I was in my apartment.
I thought it was my apartment.
That's it. Nothing else. Nothing Botham's charging at me. Nothing I thought he had a gun. I always hesitate to make things racial, but I think what happened was she saw an African-American male, and she responded fast. She shot him.
In fact, he believes the call shows she cared more about what was happening to her and less about the fact that she had shot an innocent man in his own apartment.
There was more focus, in my opinion, trying to protect herself than there was trying to make sure that Botham was okay, was going to make it.
He wants people to remember that Botham Jean was a loving son, devoted friend, a man of faith, and a successful accountant.
People love Botham, people of all races.
His family and friends want people to remember he died for no reason.
I'm so sorry.
If it is just that simple to say you made a mistake and you didn't intend to kill someone, then we would never ever have anyone in prison for murder. I always hesitate to make things racial, but I think what happened was she saw an African-American male, and she responded fast. She shot him.
And do I think it has something to do with her decision to fire that gun that fast? I think it did.
Okay, so you are saying, Councilor Washington, you believe race played a part in this?
Again, I think the fact that she saw a African-American male placed her in some type of fear, in my opinion. But again, I don't want it to be about race.
What's up, it's iCkEdMeL. I have several clips to show you. The last clip is pretty interesting, and it's a question that I should have asked in the previous video regarding the 911 call. Now, this is Daryl Washington being interviewed by Rick Roberts. I believe this was May 1st, and he's openly talking about the case, things about race, things about the 911 call. He brings up some really good questions. And my overall thought, and I'm going to bring it to you piece by piece, and if you want to hear the full video, I'll put the link down below, is the whole race thing. I really think that, yes, that's a conversation that can be had, but I think that we shouldn't really focus on that because the things that happened that day were so horrible, we don't even have to bring in race into that. You know, so I think they should focus on the other things. But stay tuned. I would love to hear your thoughts. Things about, like, should that 911 call have been released? Did it do anything good? Did it change your perspective? Do you feel the same? Comment down below. Let's get on with it.
That is the voice of Daryl Washington. He is the Botham Jean family attorney.
What we did not hear in that 5-minute recording that is so key, we didn't hear not one time that she said that he was reaching for a gun or she thought she was in any type of imminent danger. That was not said. What we did hear is that she said, I'm going to lose my job, or I did not mean to shoot you. So we didn't hear anything where she did not have a choice but to shoot him, and I think that's very key.
So he brought up some good points in that soundbite regarding the 911 call. She mentioned nothing about him scaring her, threatening her in fear for her life. I believe in the affidavit she stated that she gave him verbal commands and he did not listen to her verbal commands. You didn't hear nothing about that in the 911 call. I think that's a fair thing to bring up. Also, I'm surprised that this guy, Daryl Washington, is speaking out and giving his opinion on a case that hasn't started in court yet. I also think that personally, I don't think he's that good with media. I think the other guy, Lee Merritt, I think he does a lot better with the media and dealing with news organizations or whatever. But in this next soundbite I'm going to play for you, they're talking about race, where this guy, Daryl Washington, believes it's racially motivated. I happen to know from a lot of the comments that people left on the videos I posted, a lot of people feel it does involve race. When I was covering this story, particularly, I left it out because I just didn't think, like, there's no reason for me to talk about it. you know, it's really hard to determine these kind of things sometimes or prove it in court. And at the end of the day, it's just like you really don't even need that particular motive behind it, I don't think, unless they're able to prove it. I've heard there's been stuff on her social media. Unless you can prove it, I think the facts of the things that have happened already, the fact that she got the wrong apartment, the fact that this man's dead, he got shot in his own apartment, that's enough already. We probably should focus on that more. You let me know. We're going to play that soundbite where he declares, and he says it's his opinion that he feels that this was somehow with racial. He felt like if it wasn't somebody that was black in the apartment, maybe if it was somebody else of a different skin color, that she wouldn't have shot so fast and reacted. You guys comment below and you let me know how you feel.
Do you believe, as the Botham Jean family attorney, Daryl Washington, do you believe that race had anything to do with this case?
I think, and it's very hard because, again, we are not all there. But I think there is some underlying fear when there's an African-American, if you face with an African-American in a certain situation, that there is some type of underlying fear. As difficult as it is for us to want to admit it, it's something that we just need to have conversations about, that it does exist. And do I think it has something to do with her decision to fire that gun that fast? I think it did. But again,
okay, so you were saying, Councilor Washington, you believe race played a part in this?
Again, I think the fact that she saw a African-American male placed her in some type of fear, in my opinion. But again, I don't want it to be about race.
No, it shouldn't be. You're right.
It shouldn't be about race at all. It's about the situation, because whether Botham was white, whether he was Asian, I would look at the situation the same. I have seen a lot of individuals kill people and are so remorseful after they took somebody's life. Like they didn't mean to do it. So to hear someone saying that they did not mean to do it, and somebody's sad, yes, there are going to be a number of people that are going to have sympathy, but the question you got to always ask, what if it was my kid?
No. I understand. I come from a law enforcement family, so I see both sides.
So the whole race conversation, I know a lot of people don't like to hear it. I know a lot of people, when it's regarding two different races, two different skin colors, people automatically assume that it has to be racism. But when it involves the same color, whatever, nobody thinks that. People just have this automatic assumption, which you can't. It's very circumstantial. It's just his opinion. He's just guessing. Regardless of how you feel, that's not enough to hold up in court. The next soundbite that I'm going to play for you is whether the 911 call should have been released. And you know, my thoughts on a 911 call thing is that I agree with this lawyer, the councilman or whatever you want to call him for the Botham family, that they should have released this a long time ago. Why did it take this long to release it now? I don't know. That's a good question. Maybe you can comment below and let me know why you think that. And the other thing I wanted to bring up about 911 calls, I've listened to a lot of 911 calls, and it's so hard to tell. It's so hard to judge or try to decipher exactly what a 911 call means. If the person's being real, are they lying, are they acting? I've heard so many different ones which are truthful, some which are false. People putting on a show, are they not putting on a show? It's just one of those things that if you're in that situation, until you're in that situation, it's really hard to say what you would have done. Hindsight, as they say, is always 20/20. I'm not sticking up for Amber Guyger. I'm just saying that, you know, this 911 call for me was telling, because like I said previously, and we're going to get more deep into it with the following clips, is that she was really kind of concerned about her job, which kind of bothered me a little bit. She just kept saying, hey bud, hey bud, hey bud. She's gonna get fired, she's effed, you know what I'm saying? Meanwhile, this person here, Botham Jean, is dying, bleeding out. It's just kind of like, just imagine if that's the last thing you're hearing. You're literally dying, you're taking your last breath, and you're looking up at this woman, and the last person before you die, is some woman talking about looking at you while you're bleeding out and dying. I'm gonna lose my job.
Let me ask you this. You've heard the tape, obviously, probably several times. How do you feel about the 911 tape being released? I
don't think it should have been released, quite frankly. If you're going to release, if that type of information is going to be released, it should have been released when the incident first happened. And those type of games, those type of things that happen, I just don't like it. It should not occur.
So this next soundbite I'm going to play for you is something that literally after I made the video regarding the 911 call, I thought about this the day after, and the attorney brings up, the councilman, Darrell Washington, he brings up such a good point with this 911 call. I'm going to play for you is that I've heard so many 911 calls, as I've mentioned. If there's somebody injured, there's somebody shot, you usually hear that person on the other end. Are they bleeding? Are they alive? Do they have a pulse? If you don't even know how to do CPR, they will walk you how to do CPR.
Is there anybody there that can CPR on the beat? You gotta just, I can't answer your question, send the ambulance. They're on the way. I need somebody to start CPR. 2 breaths. Sorry, and 30 compressions on the chest. 2 fingers in the middle of the chest. 1, 2. No, faster. 1 and 2 and 3 and 4 and 5 and 6. She's trying to breathe now? Okay, she's breathing.
What's going on? Like, that kind of stuff to make sure the person's okay. The operator seemed to have complete disregard for Botham's life. I have to just tell it how it is. You know what I'm saying? Complete disregard. Not one time did the operator ask. Well, there was one point in the 911 call, the operator said, where was he hit? And I think Amber said top left. I believe that would be like your heart or something. I don't know. Depending how far top left, it could be up or down, whatever. That's all the operator asked. So the lawyer here, the attorney, brings up a really good point. You know, this Amber calls this falls on Amber, but at the same time, what about this operator 911? What about the next time I have to call 911? Can you even depend on these people?
But here's what, and I don't know if you pick up on this, here's what releasing this 911 recording did. It exposed problems with the city of Dallas and the 911 system. One of the things we did not hear, and the attorneys talked about this, one of the things we did not hear in that 5-minute conversation is genuine concern about Botham. For example, is he bleeding? Is he still alive? You know, how bad is the injury? What type of aid does he need? Are you giving him any type of assistance? Are you trying to stop the bleeding? We didn't hear that type of dialogue and that type of exchange. And to hear 2 professionals on the phone in that moment, in that emergency, we did not need to hear on multiple occasions, I'm going to lose my job, or I was in the wrong apartment. At that particular time, we are expecting that the concern be on both of them, and how can we save his life? And you said you came from, you know, law enforcement, a lot of people with law enforcement background. A lot of the people, you are trained that you are going to be in emergency situations where you have to use deadly force, but you also have to be able to compose yourself after you use deadly force and look at the situation and make sure that you're giving proper aid to somebody who's just been shot. And we just didn't hear that in the recording at all.
By the way, it's not the first time somebody got shot by Amber Guyger. There was a guy that I believe tried to take her taser, and she took out her gun and shot him in the abdomen. And I think the attorney brings another good point that, like, police officers are supposed to be trained in these types of situations. Amber Guyger seemed like she was freaking out, seemed like she didn't have any regard for Botham's life, really, kind of, besides saying, hey, bud, right as he died, and he breathed his last breath of air. And the other thing, too, is that I think the affidavit said that she administered aid. But when did she do this? Before she called 911? After she called 911? I don't know, because to me personally, and I've seen people administering CPR, I've seen people go in cardiac arrest, and you're on top of them trying to bring him back to life, trying to give him epinephrine or whatever it is. To me, it didn't seem like she was. I don't know. I'm just saying. You know what I'm saying? So that's kind of some of my concerns. And what the attorney was saying here is that these people are supposed to be they're supposed to be trained in dealing with emergency situations. So, I don't know. And the fact that if you saw the original audio, that she didn't know the gate code to the apartment complex area, to the building area, when they live in the same building. Amber Guyger, I'm sorry, if you're watching this, honey, how the hell do you not know the gate code? Just saying. How do you not know that gate code? I don't have to take the whole racial aspect into it, because I just don't. That's not normally the route I go with. stories, unless I'm joking around, which anytime I joke around about race, people take it so seriously. They get so hurt about it. This story is nothing to joke about, but we don't even need to go that route. But I guess comment below. Let me know your thoughts, man. I thought this interview was pretty interesting. How do you feel about this 911 call? Did it change your perspective? Should it have been released? Why did it take so long? I'm very curious about the door lock data that they took the door locks, and these door locks, these fancy door locks, they have the data stored in them, which will tell us whether the door was open, whether it was closed. And let me tell you this before I end up this video. Shame on all those people that vilified the neighbor that caught the neighbor that was a witness, or lady, I forgot her name right now. She got fired from her job. This is the thing that society does right now. It's kind of disgusting and disturbing. She got fired from her job. She got villainized. She got like verbally attacked. I believe she got threats. I don't know, because she witnessed something that happened. She couldn't help that. You know what I'm saying? That is so wrong that they did that to this woman. And that's how this media works. They don't like people like us. They don't like people. They want to report their own narrative. They want to spin their own stories. And if somebody just happens to catch it, we're going to make sure they lose their job. And last final note, if we disagree on politics, because a lot of the Botham Jean stories I covered, which was the biggest story I've covered here on YouTube, people are like, oh man, I can't believe you feel like that. And I found out about your politics. Bro, my politics, we may be on different spectrums, different wavelengths of the political spectrum. That has nothing to do with what's right and wrong. You know what I'm saying? This Botham Jean story was, what happened to him was wrong. And to me, why it stuck to me so much too is this guy was so wholesome, so like just seemed like such a good guy, that these people were so dirty. And I noticed the differences in how they treated Botham Jean and Amber Guyger, to the fact that this guy had a search warrant. Not only did he have a search warrant, which was kind of fine if they searched his house. Where's that search warrant for Amber Guyger? We didn't hear nothing about that. Oh, but they sure leaked out everything that was found in his house, right? Including some sort of Mary J container or whatever bag, a small little baggie, which who knows who that belonged to. Amber Guyger moves out of there. There's no search warrant for her place that I know of. You know what I'm saying? It's quite disturbing. I have to say that. There's right and there's wrong. Regardless of politics, we can set that aside. Comment down below. Let me know your thoughts. Have a great day and peace.
I see potential subscribers. Subscribe for more. This is the mother info war.